Baillie, thank you very much for being here at the Museum of Entrepreneurship today. And we are so excited to have you here, and we would like to know so much about yourself, you as an entrepreneur, and the companies that you have funded. So here we start with the first question. Is that okay?
Yes.
Tell me about yourself and your background.
Well, I was born in Calgary, Canada, which is a city of just over 1 million people. I have one sister. I guess my parents are not entrepreneurs, but I would say that my mom is quite entrepreneurial, and my dad's father is an entrepreneur, and so is his brother. But I feel like I had that streak since I was young, and my parents encouraged me. So I had lemonade stands, and when I was a little bit older, as a teenager, I was interested in beadwork, so making jewelry from beads, and I started selling the jewelry on consignment. A turning point for me entrepreneurially was in high school. I participated in Junior Achievement, which is called Young Enterprise in the UK. And that's a high school program where you have mentors, and as high school students you get together after high school and develop a business idea. And you start from the beginning, kind of sell shares to different investors, come up with a product or a service, and then at the end of it, liquidate the company, and I loved that. So I started with my team, 3 different organizations, and I was elected the president of 2 of them. And that, I think, was when I really got into the entrepreneurial spirit, although I didn't think I was going to be an entrepreneur or that I wanted to be an entrepreneur at that point.
So how old were you at that time?
So I was high school. I was, I guess, 16, 17.
You started very, very early as an entrepreneur.
I love the Young Enterprise program and the Junior Achievement program because it helps expose young people to what it could be like to be an entrepreneur.
And when did you get then started with your next venture?
So in university, I didn't think I wanted to pursue an entrepreneurial path. It wasn't even something I really thought about. I liked business, but I was interested in lots of different things. And so I started studying behavioral economics, which is psychology and economics, and applied it to public policy. And then I had this course in university that really changed my direction. It was actually just one slide in one course. The course was behavioral economics and public policy, and the class was on how employers make hiring decisions when it comes to different demographic factors. So an employer should be considering variables like someone's work experience or their education, but they arguably should not be considering their gender or ethnicity or criminal conviction when it was in the past. And so what I learned is that if someone had a criminal conviction, had been to prison, it didn't really matter what their education was or what work experience they had. An employer was very unlikely to hire them. And that got me thinking about the concept of the American dream, the idea that we can do anything or achieve anything if we put our minds to it. And I couldn't stop thinking about that. I had lots of different ideas of what I was going to do, but at the time I was thinking about becoming an academic, and I was planning to go on that path. And so after university, I started working at the same university in public policy. And I was doing research with the criminal justice department because I was interested in criminal justice policy. And I felt so ivory tower, as in I had never been to prison myself, and I was working on policies that affected people in prison, and I was still thinking about that equation of the hiring and what I saw as a lack of justice or an unfairness in the system. So I started volunteering in a prison to get some experience of what it was like to be in the prison. I was volunteering as a tutor. And I met all these very entrepreneurial people in prison. So many of them were involved in the illegal but entrepreneurial career of drugs. And some of them doing very well, except that they were in prison.
But the entrepreneurial mindset is there.
Entrepreneurial mindset was there, yeah, and a lot
Just
of people
need to redirect it a little bit.
Exactly. Like a lot of people, I mean, the crimes could be very entrepreneurial in mindset, and I could see that it could be redirected. And also, I was tutoring English and math. I found that the standard curriculum for teaching, if it's not applied, sometimes it's not exciting or enjoyable, and it's hard to teach. So I started to tailor my teaching to students' interests, and many students were interested in business. So we started talking about business examples and business cases, and I realized that maybe entrepreneurial education could be a way to support people in prison to think about math and English and writing in a different way. With that mindset, I thought somebody should be teaching entrepreneurship in the prison. Kind of like the education I had in high school with junior achievement, to give people exposure to what it could be like to start a different kind of business or to translate the pre-existing entrepreneurial tendencies into something legal. Someone should do this, and I realized that, if not me, then who? There's nobody else out there. So
this was a completely new concept, and there was nothing similar, no other company doing something similar.
It was pretty new. We were early for the time. Now teaching entrepreneurship in prison is, I'd say, not that innovative. It exists, and it's considered to be a good thing. But at the time, there were, at least in the United States and in the state that I was in, there were very few initiatives working with people in prison, almost none. There was very little support available, and the idea of working in a prison was still a bit controversial. What happened was that I got a group of friends together, and we went to the business school library, and we studied business, and we wrote a curriculum for how to start a company. We didn't know how to teach entrepreneurship. So we used the resources that were available to us for free, and we started teaching entrepreneurship in the same prison where I used to tutor. And then gradually that course got improved and we got more popular. We started teaching in 10 different prisons, recruited more established teachers, people who were serial entrepreneurs from the local community, and the organization grew, and
fantastic.
I became an entrepreneur.
But I'm sure that you found also some hardship because, as you say, it was relatively new. I mean, actually, very new as a concept. Very few organizations doing that already. And I believe it's not an easy type of organization to enter, to do something different, something new, to bring in innovation. So it must have been difficult. I mean, you must have had a lot of contrasting views as well.
Yeah, resilience is so important. I think, I made so many mistakes with, I guess what is a mistake? A mistake is a learning experience. So I learned so much with venturing out. And then when I started my second organization, Spark Inside, I learned even more in different ways. There was something that one of my mentors told me early on, which stuck with me, and I need to remember it for my for my next venture too. And he said that, Baillie, the reason that you keep on succeeding is that you don't know that what you're doing is impossible. There's something about when you don't know that what you're doing is difficult, you do it anyways because you don't know that it's hard, so you go for it. And a lot of times people don't try because they think that it won't work. So they don't even bother trying. But if somebody doesn't know that it's hard, they go for it. That helped me, that attitude of belief that it was possible and not understanding why it wouldn't be possible. Because for me, these were good ideas. So why shouldn't it work? That being said, there were many people who, called me naive. I think also because I look younger, or the vision, they said it was unrealistic, especially for Spark Inside, my second organization that brings coaching into prison. So again, very innovative. And this was started in 2012 before people knew what coaching was. So I met a lot of people who told me that it wouldn't work, or that I wouldn't be able to do it. And I think maybe as I reflect now, one of the lessons I can take is to push on the open doors and not try and bang on the closed doors. So there were many people who didn't believe not only in the initiatives, but also I met people who don't believe in the nonprofit sector at all. And I tried really hard, I think 5-10 years ago, to convince those people of my way and not their way. It didn't work. It never worked. I mean, there's a few cases where I talked to somebody and they were open and they considered a new perspective when I was convinced that I was right and they were wrong. But actually, what I realize now is it's not about the right and the wrong. It's about trying to find partners and work with them, and those
find
who
your
are
way.
Yeah, those who are aligned,
find your way.
we go together, and those who don't believe,
leave them aside.
Leave them aside. It's not worth it. And I use so much energy. I use so much energy on trying to convince people and fight for this cause when I don't think I needed to expend that energy on the people that weren't convinced. Instead, I could have worked with the people that at least were open-minded and wanted to have a conversation about it.
How supportive was the environment, your friends and families around you were going through this? Meaning, if I may, did they try to stop you saying, no, this is going to be really hard, Baillie, I mean, maybe you should direct your energies into something else? Or were they supportive and say, no, you should go for it, do what you believe in?
Yeah, I'm really lucky that I have a very supportive family, and I think they've reluctantly accepted that I'm doing this thing and there's nothing they can do about it. But I remember when I brought my parents into my office for Spark Inside and I showed them, look, I have an office, I have a chair, there's people working here. I think many parents just want their children to have security, job security, especially today. Things are very volatile and the entrepreneurial life is not secure. It's very unstable, and especially at the beginning, there's no salary. You don't know where you're going. Is this going to succeed or not? So I think my parents would have preferred that I had a stable job, only so that I felt safe, and they felt safe for me. The province that I come from has a more conservative attitude towards social policy, and it was really helpful talking to I guess my parents and my mom in particular about the language I was using for the work of venturing out and Spark Inside around rehabilitation and helping people in prison see their potential. At least for my mom, the language she was using was very different, and the reasons for supporting people in prison were different, and trying to find a common language where we both agreed why this work was important for someone that comes from a more conservative political perspective, and then for me, currently more liberal, was really helpful. Because we disagreed about the why, but we agreed in terms of the impact and the importance of this work.
How did you then move from the US to the UK?
Well,
What brought you here?
Yeah, after I started venturing out, I was still in my research job, and I still planned to become an academic. I was still passionate about data and research, and I thought about doing a joint law degree with a PhD, which is a very long program. And I thought, before I do this 7-8 year program, let me do a 1-year master's degree just to test it out. And I'm so glad I did. So that's why I came to the UK, was to do the 1-year master's, because in the United States they only have 2-year master's degrees. And midway in my master's degree, or probably earlier on, I was thinking about one of the challenges that I had at venturing out, working with young people in prison. They weren't really ready to become entrepreneurs. They didn't know, is this what I want to do, or maybe I want to do something else? And also, the idea of telling someone not to do something doesn't work so well. So telling someone don't commit crime, well, then what am I going to do instead? And I was thinking about how helpful it would be for the young people in particular that are in the prison system to have this sense of passion and purpose towards something, and also to have the spaciousness to think about who they are and what's important to them. All people are yearning for this sense of purpose. And as a young person, it's particularly challenging because when we're younger, we don't have the exposure to all the things that are possible, and we don't really know ourselves. Well, we're always learning who we are, but as young people, we're really looking for that sense of identity. So I was thinking about this as I was doing my master's degree, and I started writing a business plan for what became Spark Inside.
By that time, you had already exited the previous business in the US? Or
I
were you
was-
still involved?
Yeah, I became the board chair and later a board member of Venturing Out. And yeah, so I was
You were still involved.
minimally involved, but still involved. But in my head, I kind of moved on to this new career path. And also I was in the UK. And when I wrote the business plan for what became Spark Inside, I won the university entrepreneurship competition. And I decided, if I'm going to win this, I'm going to move to London. And that was how I moved to the UK. It was just, I didn't have anywhere else to go or anything else to do. And I just ended up here, starting Spark Inside.
Wow, that's fascinating. And it takes a lot of courage, and you have to take on a lot of risk as well. We are moving now in a completely different country, different system,
Yeah.
and completely different from what you have been used to deal with back home.
At the beginning, not knowing who to talk to, how systems worked, I didn't know many people. I didn't have the networks in place for.
So can you
finding
remember
mentors.
the first step you took when you arrived in the UK?
Well, I already got a little bit of money from the university entrepreneurship competition and entering a grant with Unlimited. I won some money through Unlimited, finding somewhere to live. And then I remember, I was just working from home. I think I tried to find an office space, and this was before there was kind of co-working arrangements, so going to the council to try and find any support. I think I talked to anyone that I could, and some things would work and some things wouldn't work. Some people said that they would help, and of those, some did, some didn't, some could, some couldn't. Just trying to find my way. I also set up a group of young people, or got together a group of young people who'd been involved in the criminal justice system. So this was early on when I moved to London. They'd been in prison or on probation, or they had friends or family who'd been in prison. And we got together, and I asked them, what would have helped you when you were involved in the criminal justice system, or when your friends or family had been involved? And these meetings gave me a sense of direction in terms of the programming, because these young people told me very clearly what they wanted, which was non-directive, no one telling me what to do, and non-curricular, no set program. Establishing these conversations with, I guess, a focus group of people who've been in prison, or who had lived experience, or the other friends and family, mixed with trying to get some mentorship from me. That was how I spent my time. I thought, I can't keep going like this, because I was burnt out, and I didn't have the money. And so I guess a couple things happened. One was I took a last-minute holiday. I booked in the morning. I thought I just need to go anywhere to get out. It was good for me to have that experience of burnout early on, and recognizing that this is unhealthy and I can't come back to this place of I've reached the point of too much and I need a break. So that was good to have that experience early on. The second was I was trying to find a non-curricular, non-directive approach to programming. I didn't know what that was, and I came across life coaching, and I had a coaching session to try it out with a coach. And through this 30-minute or 1 hour chemistry call with this coach, I realized that I had to make it work, even if I needed to get another job. And so that decision really helped me commit and understand how committed I was to making this work. Working with a coach it's having a space where somebody is listening really carefully, not just to what we're saying, but also to what we're not saying. They listen to how we're saying it and take a look at our facial features and our expressions and our posture. Because sometimes we say, yeah, I'm really excited about this. Well, am I really excited about this? Or am I saying that I'm really excited, but my body language is communicating that maybe I'm not, or maybe I feel some tension, and the coach is noticing these things and raises our awareness of it. And then the person receiving the coaching can think, oh, interesting, I hadn't thought about that before. And with a coach, we can achieve these light bulb moments, the moments of aha, or kind of an epiphany, much faster, because somebody's pointing things out that we can't see for ourselves. And with that information, we can then make a different decision. And the last thing I'll say about coaching is that it's great when people are feeling stuck. if I'm feeling like I don't know how to proceed with my business, I don't even know which person to talk to about it. I can share with the coach that I'm feeling stuck, and we can explore that feeling of stuckness together. And then maybe there's something that gives me a different perspective on my stuckness that allows me to take that one step forward, and I'm free, I'm released from it. That's the power of coaching. And then the third kind of pivotal moment was a year before. I had so many conversations with so many different people about this venture and the vision, and sometimes people would ask for the business plan or they ask for more information. And I was scared to ask people for money. I didn't know how to do it. And 5 months after I moved to London, someone called me, someone that I had presented the business plan to 1 year before, and he said that he would donate the entirety of my budget. So these were some pivotal moments for me in the first 6 months of starting Spark Inside. And because of, I guess, the early burnout and understanding I can't be everywhere and do everything, I have to take it slower. The moment of commitment to this venture, this is what I want to do, regardless of whether I get money or don't get money, I'm going to make it work somehow. And then actually getting the budget donated. These were steps that helped me move forward and kind of defined how I spent my time.
Thank you for sharing the part of the burnout. It's one of the most difficult things in entrepreneurship. Many entrepreneurs go through this, and they have to find their own way to recover and to push through. Can you tell us a bit more about the burnout, and what kind of advice would you give to young entrepreneurs that are facing this?
It can be a lonely journey, and also it's hard to know where to start, because if we're in the unknown world, then we don't know it. We don't know how to navigate it. And even when we enter into the stage of the known unknowns, we still don't know what we're doing. Coaching's been really helpful for me to have that space to go through my thoughts, my experiences, to have someone to process them with. And the coach doesn't give advice, which I like, so they're not telling me what to do. They're listening really well and deeply to what it is that I'm experiencing, because sometimes it's hard for me to articulate my own thoughts, or even to have that mirror, someone to say that I'm all over the place. Sometimes I don't notice that I'm scattered, or I don't notice that I'm calm. I don't notice that I'm focused, because it's just living the day-to-day. So that's been really helpful. I think another lesson that I learned is that my health is the most important thing above everything else, and even above the mission of the organization. I think entrepreneurs, we feel a sense of urgency. Everything needs to be done now, because we see that there's this opportunity. We have to do it right now. We have to have the meeting right now. And what I learned is that it doesn't actually matter that much. So, maybe I set a deadline for myself of finishing a proposal by Friday, 6 p.m. It has to be done Friday, 6 p.m. Does it actually have to be done at Friday at 6 p.m.? I feel that it does, because I know that I want to get it to somebody so that they can look it over the weekend. But actually, if they look it over the following weekend, or even months from that period, does it make that much of a difference? But I feel the sense of urgency, and I have to question myself, is this a real urgency or an artificial urgency? And the urgency is motivating to other people, but I've sacrificed my own health, and I try not to do that. It's full of uncertainty and unpredictability and periods of no salary, but that's what I love, and I recognize that. And the moment when the organization was full of structure and process and policies and procedures and management, I wasn't so interested in that, and I didn't enjoy my job as much as I did at the beginning. Like at the beginning, there was serendipity, there was moments of crazy celebration. We didn't have the program that we applied for. We designed the program in this grant, and we won a grant in our second year, which is almost unheard of, because we didn't know that this was so impossible. We didn't know it was so unlikely, so we went for it. And that was crazy, but it was so fun. It was so fun, and we had all these adventures. And later, when the organization became more systematized, we had fewer crazy adventures. And I also realized that my mind, as the founder, which was full of, let's try this, 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 and this at the same time and see what works, was not the helpful approach for an organization of this size. And it became a problem, and I realized that I could be getting in the way of the organization's success if I didn't change my approach. So in this case, I changed my approach, but that wasn't authentic to what I really loved. And I found myself not enjoying work as much. or enjoying only some aspects, like the partnership with funders and other organizations and the outward-facing work. The visioning I loved, but then the day-to-day inside the organization, I wasn't loving as much. So after I left Spark Inside, people said, "What do you do?" Oh, I don't know. I don't know what I do anymore. And that identity shift, for people that go from one organization to the next organization, they don't have this challenge. Because it's, I was the CEO and founder of this, and now I'm founding this, or now I'm working here. There's a smooth transition in terms of the identity of the founder, but for founders that leave and don't know what they're doing next, that's a big existential question.